Hey, Will, thanks for brainstorming with me and for being our very first guest on Fellow Travelers. Welcome officially. This is meant to be a time capsule of interesting discussions with the people I admire most in the business community as we emerge, I hope, from the pandemic. I don't know if you think of yourself as a lawyer, if you think of yourself as someone who works in real estate, or what you think. Um, but I'm never really sure because I'm not sure I think of myself as a woman in IT, and I'm also not sure that I think of myself as a lawyer anymore. So I think
Right.
I don't know where I fit.
You don't
But
need to be, you don't need to
no
identify
boxes.
with one or the other. Yeah. I mean, look, that's the beauty of the whole thing is I mean, look, I still practice law. I'm really a lawyer. I practice in a whole bunch of different genres, obviously, but at the end of the day, it's half law, half business. It's probably more business than law for you. But you're still a lawyer. You'll always be a lawyer, no matter what. That will not leave you. That will not
um,
leave you for sure.
I think it's pretty cool that that you started your own firm out of law school. I'm just
Yeah.
curious, do you think you have hustle?
I used to have a lot of hustle. I used to have a lot of hustle.
I
I
think
I,
you
I
still
won't
have a
lie to
lot of
you.
hustle.
It's funny. If it's one thing that kind of gets tempered in a corporate environment, it is the hustle piece, right? Because you kind of fit into a corporate culture, you kind of fit into a corporate value structure, and you can think that you're hustling, but you're not really truly hustling like true hustlers do, like OG hustlers. Like hustlers are really about getting out there, pounding the pavement, picking up the phone, doing me like that's true hustling, and that takes some energy, man. That takes some energy.
In my first business, when I ran ATD, and we had no work at occasions.
Yeah,
Obviously, part of my job was paying the bills, and I would walk the underground in Toronto until I would
yeah.
run into potential clients and like hustle in the underground, and wouldn't
That's
like
amazing.
stop walking the underground until I had more work to take back to the team. Um,
You're a path hustler. That's
I was,
amazing.
but that is like it's actually like it's yeah. I often wish I could teach what that feeling was like, where it was like, if I don't get us some work, nobody eats this month.
Listen,
Let's go
that
do that.
is a hustle dream that not everybody has. I am telling you, that is a hustle dream that everybody has. So kudos to you, because you're the guys that use that hustle gene to rainmake, build business, start business, create stuff. And other people, when they hear that, they know they can never do it. Like they just know they can't do it because they don't have that.
Yeah, but
I'm,
you
I'm
did
just gonna
it.
go get it.
You're one of us.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, I did it. I did it when I was much younger. I did it. And then corporate Canada took it from me.
well, and speaking of corporate Canada and culture, what do you think is the most productive culture? We've been building ours.
Yeah.
So we have a culture around client obsession, around speed, around relentlessness, around big vision. And then here's one that's weird. We have a cultural principle around being friendly,
Wow.
um, which I think is just a bit different, but it is something that makes us a bit unique because
Yeah.
if you don't want to have a bit of a laugh as you're being super relentless and intense, Arteria is probably not a really good spot for you because we because we like to chill a bit too.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what you think makes for a good culture.
Yeah, I've actually been through many different work cultures, right? In my travels, and some were terrible. There's no doubt about it. Some were terrible, not sort of employee centered, not just all business. Employees were widgets. You're really just there to produce and create, and the end result is really what we're there for. And then lately, being a McDonald's, and McDonald's is the kind of brand, like, it's a fun brand. Let's be real about it. McDonald's is a fun brand, and
The best brand.
yeah, it is, and it has been a revelation in terms of working under this culture, and the values have changed over the years, but that family environment, bring your kids, it's the first restaurant we want your kids to think about. We want you to come to the place. It's not called Happy Meal for no reason. It really is, like it's supposed to be a fun environment, and that putting the guest first. We want people to come to our house. This is like our home, and we want to feed you, and we want to have you eat good food that you'll always love. and that you'll bring your kids to, and you feel comfortable eating from a food quality, a food safety standpoint. So yeah, I think that that value piece and that corporate culture needs to exist, not just like for us at the restaurant level. It has to exist at the corporate level too. And while it has changed over the years, I feel that, yes, the pandemic has really put like a kind of big stomp on that because we're not together anymore. But when the office was open, and you'll see this happen in the future, the vibe there is amazing. Like it's incredible, and with the people around. So yeah, I think that value piece is important to drive your business. And for us, it's the same. We're guest focused, guest driven.
Mm-hmm.
And we also want to make people know that we're also sort of environmentally and from an eco-friendly standpoint, like we're our principles of sustainability and not just taking from the planet, but making sure you leave again the planet in a good way, is huge for us, right? It's huge.
I never realized that McDonald's is shaped like a house until you said hamburger house. It never occurred to me that is clearly the icon being invoked at McDonald's. Have you ever been to Hamburger U?
Yes, many times.
You once told me that there were off menu items that are sort of like that people can order. Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. And
and do people at any McDonald's anywhere in the world know it's a thing? Like if I go and order I believe you told me it was a double quarter pounder. Is that a thing?
No, you can customize your stuff however you want it. Like I think people don't realize how much they can customize, right? So that's the beauty of McDonald's. If you said you wanted, a Big Mac, but you want to use quarter pounder patties instead of, the smaller patties, if you wanted to put a McChicken in the middle of your two patty, you can do whatever you wanted. You can literally customize the living crap out of
what's the best customization you've seen or ordered?
Look, I'm a Big Mac guy, right? So any take on Big Mac, I've had Big Macs with Angus patties, which are enormous. I've had, small ones where I just need a snack, like a hamburger dressed like a Big Mac. Like you can do a whole bunch of stuff. You can swap cheeses, but I'll tell you what, at least at head office, which is why I miss head office so much. Because our restaurant at head office, I used to customize my egg McMuffin, and at head office,
favorite menu item. Favorite menu item.
Me too. Basically egg McMuffin every day. And we did scrambled eggs, so I used to get an egg McMuffin with scrambled eggs, with cheddar cheese, not processed cheese, cheddar cheese, tomato. It was the most glorious breakfast sandwich. But now, because of pandemic, we're not doing scrambled eggs anymore. We're like, it's just terrible. But I wish the office were open,
and it's 290 calories. It's pretty healthy.
It's amazing. Well, I eat McDonald's every day. Like I tell people that I eat McDonald's. Well, when I went to the office, I ate McDonald's twice a day. I didn't eat it for dinner, but it was breakfast and lunch. And I managed, not to gain any weight. So it's doable. It totally is doable.
And then, do you think that you'll go back full bore into the office when you, where do you think? I mean, we've got some people who say the era of office centricity is dead, and we have others, like we're seeing the big US banks say hustlers come on site. I'm curious where you think the world is.
I think the workplace has changed forever. I think there's no going back from probably what should have evolved naturally, but didn't, because of fear factor on management side of people not being able to do work remotely without time stealing to death. And then on the efficiency production side, right? Like, could you actually work remotely and still be efficient and productive? And this pandemic has proven that you can do all of the above. So this work-life balance piece is never going away. I can never see us going back to the office 5 days a week, 12 hours, well, not for everybody, but 10 to 12 hours a day. That's just, I don't see it happening. And in as much as the banks want to put that kind of pressure on people, like, oh, the hustlers will come to us, horseshit. Like that is just not, that does not fly for me. I don't think that would fly for many corporate cultures. Especially in your industry, in the tech IT, that's garbage. That's just a guilt trip thing to make people come back to the office, which is nonsense to me.
See, it's funny. I'm a real office person. Like
Yeah.
before we were in lockdown and I was in my house with my kids, and
Yeah.
then I think because I'm a young mom, having a little bit of space, um, maybe young's not that fair anymore, but at least a mom, having that space was helpful, I think, to sort of get that
For sure.
focus for me. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't think I'll ever go back 5 days a week ever again. I think I'll
Yeah.
probably be a 4 or 3 day a weeker, which is sort of what we'll encourage because we want to be capital efficient about space and we want to be smart about
Totally.
it. And so maybe that means you don't have your own desk anymore. But I think that era of like the closed door, like, do you have a door on your office? Do you have an office?
No, we have
Yeah,
open
like
concept.
I haven't had an office since like the late 80s.
Yeah.
And, like I just like, yeah, I mean, that's an exaggeration, but I haven't had an office in 15 years.
Yeah. Same for me. It's now been 16 years since I had an office that had a door, because that's how it was at Tim Hortons. I actually had a box with a door and a window, and I could close the blinds or shut the door, and nobody could get it. McDonald's is open concept, and talking about workspace, like when I was mentioning McDonald's HQ, the new HQ they did was built totally on a hoteling concept. So
Hmm.
nobody had. You really had a cubicle where there was, so they went paperless. You had a little cubicle space where you could put some stuff, but you were not meant to come into the office every day. You were meant to hotel. And I see businesses going that way because it comes down to dollars and cents. You can absolutely manage mega capital by not renting out the same footprint, and have people work out of their homes for 3 days a week or 2 days a week, get work-life balance. Yeah, we're not going back. I'm an office guy too. I'm an old dad. You're a young mom, and I'm an old dad, and I
Thank you,
still
Will.
feel like I'd like to work from home at least a couple of days,
Yeah.
where you can wake up in the morning and not have to commute, which I had to do, or not stroll into my house at 8:30, 9 o'clock like I used to do, after being tired and hungry all day, and then, like, that's great not to be able to do that for 2 days, so or more. So yeah, I don't think we're going to go back for 5 days a week.
Well,
I hope
and
not.
you're an economist and former entrepreneur and lawyer. Like, when we come out of this pandemic, what do you think will be the impact to Canadians? I mean, it's hard for me to get a sense of like where we're at and what's going to happen. I mean, people talk about K-shaped recoveries and all of that, but I'm just curious from an ethos perspective, or it's just hard for me to see what's happening right now in context, I suppose. And I'm just curious if you have thoughts about sort of,
Yeah, and it's funny because when you're knee deep in stuff, you can't really see
yeah,
10 feet in front of you, right? And I've sat through a couple of seminars, online stuff, some futurists talking about how this, what's the next 720 days look like. And to be honest, his I didn't think about it, but his take was it's going to be the roaring 20s again. He's like,
I'm into that.
yeah, totally. He's like, this is going to be the roaring 20s. Hopefully it won't end like the 20s ended, because that was the first thing I thought about. Like, God, I hope it doesn't end like the 20s did end. But he's like, no, it's going to be roaring 20s. He's like, people right now are waiting to bust loose. There's a lot of disposable cash and income that people have had nothing to spend on. No trips, no shopping. There's money out there. And then, when things do open up, it's going to be mega boom. And you saw it yesterday in the stock market in the States with the inflation worries, right? And the US is one economy that's already bouncing back. So the stock market took a dip because their inflation numbers were not looking so hot. And we got to be careful with that and interest rates and the whole deal. But I agree with Leonard Brody. He, like, that roaring 20s piece, it's going to be like a war is over, and there's going to be baby boom. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening in the next 120 days that I think are going to be pretty incredible.
Well, I think there's going to be like a collective exuberance.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not to sort of discount the experience of those who lost their jobs, and of
Right.
course internationally what's happening, like it's a
Yeah.
travesty.
Yep.
But yeah, I think around here, I mean, if you talk to anyone in the UK right now,
Yeah.
the nation is coming to party right now. And I think that's kind of
It's so true. Yeah.
do you have any pent up demand for anything you want to purchase? I mean, what I want to do is I want to go and spend a day shopping. And I like don't even necessarily need to buy anything, but I want to go into stores with the people and I just want to
Yeah.
look at things.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a total shopaholic, and part of my staying sane during the whole thing has been retail therapy. Like, I mean, I have gone online and bought stuff that I'm like, oh, I don't need this, and I bought it anyway just to make myself feel good, you know. So I don't think I have like a pent up, because I've been satisfying that shopping desire all the way through. I think my only pent up thing that I would spend money on now is travel. Like travel, that's the thing I would buy. I want to go away. I want to get on an airplane and go somewhere and
Oh,
see different people and different cultures again, and da da da.
me too. Me too. I want to go everywhere. London will be
Yeah,
my first trip,
nice,
legitimately because some of our investors are from London and we've never met in
awesome.
person.
No way. Well, that
So,
definitely is a reason to go. Like that for sure.
so we'll
You gotta
go.
go.
I think the world is at a huge crux, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, yes, if you think about BLM, that was not. I mean, it's wild that such a huge waking up of the world has happened in the middle of a pandemic. I think that that is really a wild thing.
I
Um,
think it's the most ironic thing about the entire pandemic. I mean, there's been nothing positive about the pandemic itself. It's been
yeah,
horrific from a human cost standpoint. And then you had BLM, which, you know, the origins of like what happened last year was tragic. I mean, it was murder. Yet,
100%.
oh my gosh, the wave that it created, that emanated out of that, and it has been, it's changed lives in a very positive way, because there's not one brand, you know, big company out there that is going to survive unless they take diversity, inclusion, and equity, you know, seriously. And it's funny. I say diversity, inclusion, and equity, which is not a great acronym, by the way, because I also, the reason I do it, is because you can't have equity unless you have diversity and inclusion. Like, you have to hit diversity and inclusion first before it results in equity. So it really should be DIE, but it's terrible. So we'll stick to DEI because it just sounds better.
Do you think that Canadians are taking it seriously enough? Sometimes, you know, when I'm with my American friends, it was really a moment. And
Yeah.
sometimes here I have friends that are sort of like, not our problem, don't really see it. And, you know, it makes me angry if I'm to be honest, because
Yeah.
I wish I could feel a more palpable shift locally.
Yeah. It's funny because I know, being in the big company that I'm in, it's there, right? It's present because it has to be present, right? When you look at your workforce and your corporate folks and you know, the people that work for the company, we are a huge diverse bunch, especially in Toronto, right? I mean, Toronto is immensely diverse. In everyday life, I haven't felt a shift because, again, in Toronto especially, we have always been very, you know, diverse. I feel to a degree we have been inclusive in Toronto. I think what I've seen though, and what's been more brought to light, which is different from the States, you know, the States is very overt. It's binary. It's black or white. Like, I mean, that's what you have going on, black and white. It's not binary here. And what I found is that the subtleties here, the institutional stuff, the systemic stuff, the endemic stuff, of, you know, looking at your board structure, you know, looking at your executive group, you know, those are different things than, you know, being called a name in public, or suffering from anti-black racism or anti-Asian racism because of all the stupidity that happened. Yeah, the stuff I've seen a shift on is more like people are taking a look at themselves, asking, do I actually have diverse friends? Like, can I actually say I've been to somebody's house, or I have a friend who is black, or I have a friend who is brown, or I have a friend that, you know, is from a different culture or country, where you can learn. And I feel like I've talked to people, especially because I'm the co-chair of our BIPOC network at work, and our allies, who obviously are, you know, Caucasian, are starting to ask themselves, I don't know. I don't know much. Like they're actually realizing they don't know much, and they need to sort of get out of their safe space. So it's not for BIPOC people to get out of their safe space. It's for allies to get out of their safe space and come and learn culture, learn diversity, learn that we're human, but have such core differences that in the workplace, you have to take it into account. Like you have to. For a workplace, for you to bring your authentic self to work, you have to feel like you're being seen for who you are, and you're not putting on a suit and leaving your culture and your identity behind at home in your wardrobe, and now coming to corporate Canada, where you're homogenous. And I that's changed for me. I'm no longer homogenous. I refuse to be seen as a homogenous person, like colorless, in other words. Like, oh, I'm colorblind, I don't see color, so that makes me not racist. Well, no, it still kind of makes you racist because you're not seeing color. You're actually not looking for color. You're looking for homogeneity, I guess. And that doesn't work anymore.
Well, you're not recognizing the experiences that others have had. Yeah, one thing I'm particularly proud of is Arteria is 85% visibly diverse, which is
wow,
awesome.
Congratulations. That's
you.
amazing. That's amazing, Shelby. Awesome.
And for a deep tech company, we also have a 40% women, which I'm pretty proud of as
wow.
well.
Yeah.
And so, coming along, yes, I believe if we're going to build an iconic company for the future, it needs to look like one. So let's give it a go in our rapid fire question format.
Awesome.
What is the crappiest job you've ever had?
The crappiest job I've ever had? It was in grade 11 at a summer job. It was at actually a very big brand, which I won't name. And we had to do, my friend and I got the job, we had to do inventory, which basically meant, and I'm not going to date myself, but we went through huge spreadsheets like this much, basically line by line, checking boxes, comparing two spreadsheets. It was mind numbing, but I made I think it was $5 an hour. So that was a terrible summer job, but I made some money.
Now, how did it get you, this crappy job, to where you are now?
I'm not sure it really had a bearing on sort of how I got my career going. All it did though was make me not want to do any of those kinds of jobs in my future. So maybe that was it. It was a negative response.
Good lesson. What's the first place you want to travel to after COVID?
Oh, great question. In my head, I have sort of beach, sun, sand. And then the other side of me, I'm dying to go back to London. I love London. And I think it's a toss up, but I'm going to say the first place I want to go to is London.
I think that's my first trip after COVID too.
No kidding.
Maybe we'll meet there for lunch.
For sure.
Lunch in London, great idea.
Yeah.
What are you feeling most grateful for in this moment?
Oh, you know what? Right now, it's just sort of being healthy. I got vaccinated. There's lots of optimism out there. The weather's great. Things are looking like there's a light at the end of the tunnel for all of us. So at this moment, I'm just grateful that we kind of made it through the toughest time. And it looks like summer might be kind of half decent.
Fingers crossed. What is your favorite food? Or if you don't have one, what's your favorite book?
Oh my gosh. I have many favorite foods. My most favorite food, obviously, I'm from the Caribbean, so it's Caribbean food. So it's actually like a roti, which I love roti. My favorite book, I have many favorite books. I think I'm going to say that my most recent favorite book is The Alchemist. I just read it. I thought it was phenomenal. It's a book I can read again and again. So it shot into my sort of top 5 of books.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I am 100% a morning person. I like to start my days as early as possible. I went through a phase where I was kind of even being a night owl and a morning person, which didn't leave a lot of time for sleep, which is not good. But I would say definitely morning person. I love the sunrise. I love getting started fresh, grabbing a cup of espresso and getting my day going.
Do you have any hobbies?
I do. I have, I'm going to say it's sort of the typical stuff, right? Yes, I read, I listen to music. That's all sort of blah, banal stuff. I play a lot of video games. So I'm still a gamer. I play a lot of video games. And I guess one of the hobbies that I used to do very well, and I kind of put it off, is drawing. I used to draw a lot, and I'm going to start drawing again. And that's going to be one of my big hobbies coming up.
What's your favorite video game? We are playing a
Right
lot
now,
of Mario in my house right now.
really? Well, I'm kind of on the other side where I go multiplayer Call of Duty. So that's what I do to just like go brain dead. I go on, play a few games, half an hour, 45 minutes, and I get my adrenaline fix, and then I'm good for the night.
What will you remember most fondly about being in lockdown?
That's great. I think, probably spending a lot more time with my kids than I ever have before. And because I have teens, it's spending time is a lot more difficult because you barely see them. They come out for feeding, and then that's kind of when you do see them. But yeah, it's more like spending time with my kids, more than I have, and I think more than I will as soon as things open up and everybody goes back to sort of their regular, daily routines. I think I'll miss that.
And then any advice you would give to them or to yourself when you were like a young Will?
Yeah, and we talk about it because that's one of the good things about spending time with your kids, right? You actually have conversations, and one of the conversations, because they're teens, they're finding their way, as young adults in the world, and I give them some of the advice that I was given when I was younger. But I think the biggest thing is is find your passion. Find your passion. There's no pressure in terms of I want you to be this or I want you to be that. I want you to find what you love doing. And if you find what you love doing, it will be rewarding. You will make money. You will be the best at it. So just find what your passion is. Explore the world. Don't lock yourself into anything, and find your passion. You'll be the most successful if you do.
That's almost such a great note to finish on, but fine. Last question. Do you have any sense of what you want your legacy to be?
Wow. Oh, that's a great question. I haven't really thought about it. I think the biggest thing for me is to make sure that my kids are set up for success. Like I would love to make sure that they learned some wisdom from me while I had a chance to sort of to tutor them before they made their own decisions. And I guess just leaving the world in a little better place than I found it. So I find as I've gotten older, I try to give back to the community, volunteer, some charitable work, things like that I didn't have time before, and now as I get older, I have a little bit more time. So yeah, it's just leaving the world a little better place than you found it.
Well, with that, thank you so much for giving us a quick glimpse into who you are. I hope this gives people a sense of what the world is like right now, and a quick snippet into someone I admire very much. So thank you for that.
Thanks so much for having me. This has been a real pleasure, obviously, talking to you, and happy to be on the inaugural episode. So thanks.
We're going to redo this in 5 years. Well, we'll see.
That will be really fun. So I'm looking forward to that. I've got you for that.